Hi guys, how's it going? Today's video is going to be a little bit different than our previous videos. I am going to be sharing with you a little bit about myself because if we're going to be spending time talking and getting to know one another, you might as well know, why I'm talking about the things that I'm talking about and why I feel like I've earned and learned the right to even talk about these things. So I just figured I'll give you an overview of my life and where I've come from, what I've done, so that you kind of have a better idea. So I want to start way, way, way back, childhood. But the only thing I'm going to say about that is I didn't necessarily come from a rich family, and I didn't necessarily come from a poor family. I would say we were maybe lower middle class. Of course, I had a roof over my head. I had food in the fridge. That was never an issue. However, I didn't necessarily have the luxury to just kind of ask for a toy that I wanted, or, um, not that I didn't have toys, but I was not that child to basically get like any kind of lavish gifts or anything. We were just kind of like making it through, um, and yeah, it is what it is. I would say it's a happy childhood. I didn't have any abuse growing up, thank God. So I had a very relatively normal childhood. I had both my mom, I had my dad, they were divorced. But besides, like the normal stuff that can happen, there was nothing like anything major going on. And then at the age of 9, I moved to California with my mom. And I'm going to fast forward a whole lot of stuff in between that I think is not really relevant to the conversation. But, I went on to study finance. I eventually got my CPA. I then met a man who became my husband. We got married. We bought a condo together. And during that process, so many things happened. I mean, it was kind of chaotic in all the good ways. But there was a lot of ups and downs and things that like we went through as a couple, but like in good ways. One of them being we started a door business. We also started an Amazon business, selling products online. I worked in accounting. And, that whole journey or that time of my life probably deserves its own video at some point in the future. But for now, we're just gonna put a pin in that and just to kind of give you an idea of, what I was doing. So got CPA, had multiple businesses, was married, bought a house, remodeled, did all of the things, worked in accounting, and eventually, 9, 10 years into my relationship, we did decide to get a divorce. Okay. After that divorce, which was kind of a COVID divorce, excuse me while I have to plug in my laptop. After we got divorced or separated, I then jumped into Tony Robbins. I was always a fan of him, and it was always a dream of mine to attend his courses. I assumed they were thousands and thousands of dollars, and they are thousands of dollars, but it's actually no longer that expensive anymore because now, thanks to COVID, in a way, he does them virtually. So you can actually get tickets to a Tony Robbins event starting at like 300 something dollars, $500. So I rediscovered Tony Robbins and I decided to take the plunge and go to his first event, which was virtual anyway. Did that. My ticket included an in-person uh, ticket, or sorry, my registration like included an in-person ticket. So I always had that, and I was, ready to do that when things finally opened up. Throughout that process, somehow, somewhere, I decided to take the leap and go to Miami. And what started out as like a 1 month stint in an Airbnb turned into, wow, I really love it here. And I think I actually want to move here. And within 2 weeks, I found an apartment and signed a 1 year lease. Like that's literally how fast it happened. So now I'm living in this new city, and that is honestly where I think my second life really began. I ended up meeting someone, another man, and this person really changed my life for the better. I just became a whole new person after that interaction. I became more disciplined, and I finally felt like I had the guidance that I had been looking for all my life. I finally had the right strategy to do certain things. And that's when I decided to take on leveling up my body even more. And during that time, I got into the best shape of my life. At least I learned the tools to get there. So I just really dove into that and really embraced and harnessed like getting into the best shape of my life, becoming that person, that woman who is just really disciplined, like wakes up early, goes straight to the gym, reads and like does all the things that like you're supposed to do, like meditation and everything. And during that time, I was living a little bit in solitude. At least that's what it felt like. I was reading tons of books. I was writing, I was getting inspirations from these books, and just thoughts were coming in. And I was like writing, writing, writing. Um, and I started to pour into my business. So one thing I should mention is that during that process in 2020, I started a door business again for the second time. And so because of that door business, that's what really helped me even move to Miami in the first place. If I didn't have that business, there's no way I could have moved. So I'm getting more disciplined. I'm, doing all the things you're supposed to be doing, working out, sleeping early, waking up early, eating healthy, meditating, journaling, and now I'm diving into my business like never before. And over time, I eventually made the most money I had ever made in all the years of my business, all because of like that switch of focus and dedication and that discipline. So I was literally becoming richer and hotter at the same time. I was living it. And then I just, because of that solitude and the journaling and the reading and the meditation, I started to hear those internal nudges. And I got the nudge that I should write a book. I should write a book about why it took me 15 years to learn how to finally lose the weight and keep it off. And what was I doing wrong previously? Because there were a lot of things I was doing wrong. And then now there were a lot of things I was doing right that I wasn't doing before. And I'm like, oh my God, people need to learn. Like they need to know this, because I was starting to see weights on the scale that I had not seen in probably 10 years or more. I mean, the weight, like once I figured it out, once I cracked the code for myself, my weight started to drop. And I realized, like, oh, wow, not only is this sustainable, but it's duplicatable. Like, I can actually do it. I can go from losing 1 pound to the next, to the next, to the next. And so I really got the nudge to write that book. Now, after I wrote that book, I found a mentor and I joined her community of women. And in that community, I got the motivation to really finish the book, finally launch it, because it was something that I wrote and it was kind of sitting, and I hadn't cleaned it up yet and I hadn't like put it out there yet. So being in that community, I got the nudge to, you know what, just like F it, let's get it out. What are we waiting for? So I got out the book, and then I also got the nudge to start a course, like a companion course to go along with it for anyone who maybe wanted to listen to the audio instead of just reading. So I wanted to offer that as an option. So I got the nudge to do the course. And then came the nudge to start this YouTube channel, to really put myself out there even more. and really help people tap into that, like that thing that's inside of you that wants to come out. Like, you want to live an amazing life. You want to be better. You know that you have the capability of being that woman. We all do. I knew that that was inside of me all along. I had known it for so many years, but for some reason I was still just like, eh. Like I was still just right here, like below the line, not looking my best, not feeling my best, not really living the life I know I should live. And every year I kept procrastinating on being that woman. Every year I would say, I'm going to be this woman, like I would describe her, but then I would never actually take any steps to implement that lifestyle or do anything to become that woman. It was just something I was kind of just hoping and wishing and praying for without actually taking any actions towards it. So, fast forward, I am now becoming that woman who is taking the actual actions that are required to become my future self. So I just, I really just started to do that. I put my heart and soul into all of that. And, once I started that YouTube video, that's kind of like what that brings us to today is now my goal and my mission is to kind of share people my journey along the way, what I've learned, you know, maybe give you the shortcuts to get there faster, to learn from my mistakes, to break out of like that, those limiting beliefs that was keeping me stuck and, end the procrastination once and for all, and to actually like take action into the direction that we all know we want to go in. Okay. So, that's kind of why I'm here is like I'm just here to kind of help guide you through that journey. And I do believe that it all starts with getting our body right. When you look and you feel good, everything else falls into place. So that's just what feels really authentic to me, is, sharing all those nuggets with you. And, starting with our physical body, of course, our mental and spiritual health as well. But I think, part of this journey was first and foremost looking good. Okay, so a lot of my content is going to be talking about looking and feeling our absolute best. Okay, so that's the first thing we are definitely going to dive into. And if you found me, obviously, I want to encourage you to come along for the ride and let's first focus on our health, on our bodies, getting into the best shape that you possibly can. I am going to be here to help you. So if that sounds good to you, then you've definitely come to the right place. So hang tight. There is going to be more coming. But if you are ready to get started, I do have a book that is ready to go, and it is called Sexy Rich Body. But I also want to walk you through how to implement everything into your life so that you can incorporate it seamlessly. And that's where I've come out with the course. And the course is going to be, it's actually broken up into 12 weeks for you. So this is not a quick fix, obviously. If it was a quick fix, it probably wouldn't work. I would be very skeptical of anyone who promises a quick fix, but this is going to cover many topics across the entire board. It's not just your health, fitness, or weight loss or anything like that. This is going to cover hygiene, how to dress, good habits to implement, literally an overhaul of your entire life to finally step into and become that woman that you've always wanted to be. I know I've always wanted to be that person, and I was just delaying not getting there because, frankly, I didn't know where to start. I didn't know what to do. And it wasn't until I reached out and went online and found other people who had done it that I started to copy and like learn from them that I finally was able to get there. So, if that sounds good for you, I will go ahead and link everything in the description box below. Please go ahead, like and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. Mwah.